I believe that the fires we're cast upon are the flames we shall become. I believe in a common calling where our temples pray as one. I believe in the word of wonder and a kingdom for the saved.
Larry Pollock here with Vinny Galanti, IFBB Pro Masters bodybuilder, getting ready in his preparation for the 2025 Masters Mr. Olympia. I'm excited to do this interview because I've been following Vinny for a long time. He's had a very successful bodybuilding career. He also started at 14 years old, about the same time I started, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, our paths has been sort of parallel as far as like when we started to where we're at now, except Vinny's still competing. I hung it up a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm about to hang it up, so it'll be my last hurrah, I think.
So let's talk about, I know you said you started back when you were 14 in your father's basement.
Yeah, my mom and dad, we had a house in Jersey City, and my dad actually brought home a weight set. Like, that was a normal thing back then. And my dad was really big into eating healthy, and he would make a lot of good food all the time. Salads and juices. He had a juicer. He would make carrot juice and celery juice, and it was like just ahead of his time with nutrition, if you will. And, I grew up with that. I grew up with that mindset and that lifestyle. And he brought home some weights, and I started lifting and gravitated towards it really, really quickly. I just loved it. When I was 14, 15 years old, I was your typical, I guess ADHD kind of kid. Did not care about school, didn't focus. Just once the weights came, it was like, that was it. That's all I wanted to know. But bodybuilding is, it's been my only passion career, if you will, my whole entire life. So I've made an actual career out of it. I wasn't like distracted to the point. I think when I was younger, I knew what I was good at right away. Even though I didn't have the physique yet, I kind of knew that's the direction I wanted to go in. How that was going to happen, I didn't know. But I made it work. And here we are today, 42 years later. My first time I stepped on stage, I was 16 years old. Non-sanctioned show in Bayonne, New Jersey. It was called the Teenage. Actually, it was the Mr. Hudson County. And I went into the teenage, portion of it. And there was 3 kids that showed up, and I took 3rd place. But I loved it and stuck with it.
That's so crazy because our stories are almost identical. My father bought me the Weider weight set with the cement weights.
Yep.
And I would bench press to failure, and then I'd roll it off of my stomach and pick it up and then put it back on the rack and do it over again.
We know it's funny you saying that because I did the same exact thing. And, you had those little red clamps that would, clip on the side. And I made a set of dumbbells. I was doing flies or dumbbell presses one day, and it hit me in the face. And next thing I know, my father got rid of the whole entire set. And you're not going to believe what he got next. He bought me a solo flex machine with the bands. Mm-hmm. And that's what I trained on for about a year. I hated it. I was like, Dad, what are you doing? This is not cool. It's not weights. But I trained on a solo flex machine for about a year. And my next door neighbor was the uncle of Billy Schultz, who owned Billy's bodybuilding gym in Bayonne. And my friend Dino Nerny and I were actually taking a bus every day. We didn't drive yet, to go to karate. And one day we came out of karate, and I said to Dino, there's a gym right across the street. He's like, that's been there every day since we get out of here. Because I didn't even know it was there. And I walked into Billy's gym, and I never left. I loved the rubber smell and the metal smell. And it just, this is it. This is life. I thought, I want to eat, breathe, sleep, shit here. This is everything I want to do is right in this place, right here. It's a different mindset back then.
And I walked into Don Peters' gym in Reseda.
Don Peters, wow.
Which later became Gold's. And my first bodybuilder I ever saw, I saw Tom Platt's guest pose right before that. And then the first bodybuilder I saw in the gym, though, was Bertil Fox.
Oh, wow.
Walking into the gym. I was looking through the window. I saw him doing seated shoulder presses with dumbbell presses with like 150-pound dumbbells.
That's
and,
awesome.
I did my first show at 16 also, Saddleback Valley Classic. Mike Sable was my coach, and I won that show.
Mike Sable. Oh, yeah. Man. That's a name going back. Wow.
Yeah, that early 80s.
Yeah, my I was very fortunate myself. I had 2 guys in my gym. One was an AAU guy and one was an NPC guy. Chuck Waldron was competing in the AAU. He was winning, I think, the world and the universe. And then we had John Natashak, who had just won the NPC Nationals and the World Championship. So we had two prominent guys in our gym that I learned from. And John has been my inspiration for all these years, even to this day. So I have a long history of having some good bodybuilders, even Rich Gaspari, because he's from Jersey. And
Gaspari trained in, he was the manager of the Don Peters gym when it became Gold's.
This is funny. We got a lot of connections.
Weeder flew him out, and he was the manager. And him and Lee Haney were training it there in the gym with Matt Mendenhall and Fox and Al Beckles, some other people. And I got to train with them a few times because I was a little younger than them. I think I was a few years younger than them. But yeah, when Rich first came out, I think I want to say he was like 19, 20 years old. Yeah, he was huge. He was huge.
Yeah, Rich took a very professional approach towards bodybuilding, very ahead of his time with what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And that transcended to a lot of guys in Jersey. Everybody, being Italian from Jersey, and you see Rich Gaspari is an Italian name, and I'm Galanti, and a lot of people back in the day always used to say he and I looked alike, and I would be like, yeah. I always say if somebody came up to me and goes and would ask me my name, I'm like Rich Gaspari, just to break it up a little bit.
You do look. You have a resemblance for sure.
Yeah, not as much anymore, but I think when we were younger, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. I think I was. I was 15 when I went in that gym, maybe 14, and he came in right about that same time that year, and he was already big. He was strong too, really strong.
I never had a chance. Actually, I never seen Rich train. I never had that opportunity
because he trained really heavy weights and super intense. Yeah. And Lee Haney ended up taking him on as a training partner for a period of time, anyways. In the beginning, when they were still just starting to compete, and I don't know how long they trained together for, but they did train for a little while.
I believe Rich and Lee Haney got together for Lee Haney's win in the Olympia and Gaspari's win in the Nationals, and that's how.
Yeah, that's correct. That was right. That's the same time when I was training with them as well. In that first we were at Don Peters' gym, which then came Gold's, and then we ended up going out to Worlds in Santa Monica. Everybody just started going over to Worlds. So, but the first year we were there in the Don Peters' gym, and then I don't know why everybody just decided to go over to Worlds, but then I was making at that point at the beginning, I was just walking or taking a bus. But then I think after I won that teen contest at 16, I was able to drive. And shortly after, I think when I was 17, 17 or 18, that's when I got a car and I was driving every day to World Gym.
Nice.
Monica. Nice. I'd get out of school and I'd drive an hour and a half to go there to train.
I get it, man. I get it. Not a lot of young guys today would even do that. They wouldn't even think of doing that.
I couldn't wait to get out of class. Just my last class, I'd get out and I'd run to my car and drive down the 101, over the 405, down the 10 to Gold's, to Worlds to train.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Every day.
That's pretty cool.
So you competed at 16, and then what was your next show?
I think a couple months later, I did the Teen Jersey Cup, and that was like the first contest I did. I had no idea what I was doing, and a lot of the guys that were in my gym were training for the contest, so I really didn't have too much guidance. Just like, hey, Vin, eat this, do this, but not like a real diet. I think I was just winging it, and I was young, so I was in shape, so it wasn't like I wasn't a mess. But then I went to the Teen Jersey Cup, and I won my class in that. And I remember, back in the day, there were anywhere between 10 to 20 kids in a teenage show. And that was my first NPC show. And to win it, and amongst so many kids, it was exciting. And, the bug bit me early on. And like I said earlier, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make this my life. And I set my sights on the 1986 Team USA. And the only reason I was able to do it, my mom let me do it, was because my cousins lived in Colorado, and that's where the contest was. So I flew out to Colorado and spent the whole summer out there with my cousins and did the Team USA. It was my first national show. And
where was it?
It was in Colorado. And I ended up taking second place in the lightweight class. And I always was like, oh man, if I won that, I would have had like a national title in teen, open, and masters. But I got a second in that. And, I gravitated towards competing early on and learning about the sport. Like when I trained at Billy's, I learned from powerlifters to basically understand what the power rack was all about and how to use
How old were you when you did that Teen USA?
I was 18. I was 18 years old.
I won the Teen USA when I was 18, the year before you.
Okay, so here's what's funny.
It was in Chicago, and I won the light heavyweight and the overall the year before you did.
Who was in that with you, though?
I don't even know, because there was just a bunch of kids, and I don't know who they were, but I won. But then a few months later, I went to the Teen America and competed with Sean Ray as a light heavyweight, and he won.
So I believe, I could be completely wrong on this, but there was a kid named Joe Morrow who was from Chicago. And when I saw the results, I saw you, I saw him, and I'm like, I want to compete in that show. I mean, you guys just inspired the hell out of me. That was the first time I ever saw your face and heard of your name. And to be a part of like teenagers that the time was so cool, just I want to do this. And to come in second at the show, I think his name was Joe Morrow. He came up to me and congratulated me because he went to the contest because his training partner was in it. And I think Joe won his class in the show you were in, or he took a second or something. So to meet these guys, to meet him in person was like he was a star to me because he was in the Team USA. And I was like, I want to be like that. I want that aura. I want that energy.
I went out there and I flew out from California to Chicago, and it was snowing there.
Yep.
And
it was in Skokie, Illinois, right? That's
Chicago.
Yeah, but it was outside Chicago. It was in Skokie. Well, when I competed, it was in Skokie, Illinois. And
I don't know. I just remember it was Chicago.
It was a blizzard when I went there.
Yeah, it was snowing, and I wanted to stay warm, so I put on this like 5 layers of clothes and this big wool jacket, and then I sat in a sauna in my hotel, and I told my father to pull up the car and put the heater on because I wanted to stay warm. And I jumped in the car and I stayed bundled up. We drove like across the street to the venue, and I ran inside and I sat down backstage, and I just sat there covered up. And all the kids were already like pumping up, and they kept talking about, where's the California guy? Where's the California guy? And they were talking shit. And I didn't say a word. I just sat there bundled up until they called us to go on stage. and then I like pulled off my clothes at the last minute, and I had to like run up to catch up with them to the back of the stage. And I remember when I got up to there, we are just about to go on stage, and some guy, I start flexing my legs, and I had striations in the quads already. And this kid looks at me. I don't know who he was. He was big. And he's like, "Who are you?" I'm the California guy. And then we just went on stage and I won.
That's funny. That's great. Good story. Yeah.
But yeah, it was the teenage divisions were deep.
Very deep. Very deep.
Between 16 and 19, I probably did 10, 15 shows as a teenager. And I won all of them except the one I won against Sean Ray at the Teen America.
Cool.
But they were deep. I mean, they were good teenagers, and there was a lot.
Yeah, we here in Jersey, you know, besides myself, we had Gerard Dente, Robbie Lopez, and a lot of other kids that were doing the Teen USAs and Teen Nationals that were from Jersey, New York. You know, it was really stacked back then. Completely different mindset of training, and you know, kids aren't into competing as much as they were back in the day.
Oh, I walked in the gym, and the first thing I saw was Bertle Fox training like an animal. And Tom Platz had given me his leg training manual, upper body manual. I'm like, well, that's what I got to do. So I started trying to train like that.
Cool.
And Don Peters actually got mad at me because he told me I was like using bad form and I should go real slow and this and that. And I said, well, you see that big guy over there, the biggest guy in the gym? Well, I'm trying to be like him, not you. He didn't like that very much.
That's funny.
So you went and competed pretty well as a teenager, and then you've been competing pretty much your whole life. You've done a lot of shows and won a lot of competitions.
It took me 16 years to actually turn pro. You know, not many people understand today, like it's so easy to turn professional today in the IFBB because there's so many pro cards handed out. But when I won the USA, the middleweight class in the USA, I went up against Cormier for the overall, and I didn't get a pro card. They didn't hand them out back then. It was only the overall winner, as you know.
Yep.
And I've won 3 national titles before I ever turned pro. And it wasn't until 2008 when I was 40 years old where I obtained my pro card, where I won the light heavyweight and the overall in the Masters Nationals. And what's funny about that is here in Jersey, well, especially the part I grew up in, we were all about winning the nationals. And it was like this kind of like stepping stone, if you will. We had a small contest called the Suburban Bodybuilding Championships. And if you did well there, you were kind of accepted to go into the Jersey State Championships. And then if you did well there, and doing well was a top 2, top 3 maybe. Then you would think about doing the Junior USA, then the USA, then the Nationals. It was like a definitely a stepping stone. And you were laughed at if you tried to go right to the Nationals. Like, what are you doing? You're not ready for it. Your physique's not there. You haven't been training 10 years, and guys today wouldn't even understand that. So I did the whole protocol. I won the Suburban, won the Jersey, won the Junior USA, won the USA. And, you know, I thought, here I am, I'm on my way. And went to the Nationals. It took me 9 attempts to win at the Nationals. That was so hard back then. You know, I was going against guys who were I was going against pros, and we were guys at the Nationals in those years were pro caliber. And you know what they look like. You know, these guys were just nasty. You had guys who were amazing, who were in first and second, guys who were excellent, third and fourth, guys who were really good in fifth, and then just decent guys down the pack. And it was just, everybody was good. So I actually stopped competing for a 2-year period, thinking I was done. And just like you owning a gym, I opened up a studio, and I thought, okay, I had my run and I had my fun, and I'm done. But then I got back into it in 2005. And
I just want to play a little clip of you posing routine from when you won your pro card.
Okay.
Let me pull this up. Let's see. Here we go. 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 Here we go Where is it? Oh, got the wrong one. Hang on 1 second. I'm trying to pull it. Interesting. I played it a few minutes ago, and I was able to watch it, but now I can't.
That's all right.
Oh no, here I got it. Never mind. I'm on the wrong tab. It's on Instagram. Hang on 1 second. Let's see. Hang on. Here we go. So that's you when you won your pro card, and pretty damn impressive. Just to give the audience an idea how good you actually looked. Oh, there it is. Zeke and a gross titles for nothing. Aesthetics are amazing.
Yeah, it was a good night. You know, my mindset was I was doing the Masters Nationals as a warm-up, if you will, to
and
getting
crazy conditioning as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about getting back on stage at the Nationals back in November. So when I won this overall, I didn't understand that I received my pro card. It just like it didn't set in my head. And Steve Weinberg came up to me and said, duplicate this next year when you do your first pro show. I'm like, what are you talking about? I got the Nationals in November. He's like, no, Vin, you just got your pro card. And I had to like re-channel my thinking because my whole entire career was trying to aim to win the Nationals, not the Masters Nationals. And I'll be honest with you, I actually went through a little depression after that show because I thought like, I'm not a pro. I don't want to get my pro card via the Masters Nationals. I want my pro card through the Nationals or even the USA. So I probably didn't give my 100% in my first pro show because I didn't feel like I deserved it. I didn't feel like I belonged there. And it was probably, obviously it was stupid thinking on my part. Because shortly after that, I talked to Dexter Jackson and we were talking and he says, Vinny, it doesn't matter how you get your pro card. It matters what you do with it. And I wish I heard those words after I stepped off stage, you know, from Dexter, but I heard them about 2 years later. And, you know, I suffered some major injuries after that. And I thought I'd never compete again. I have 14 anchors throughout both my shoulders. I tore both rotator cuffs after that. I have 9 screws in this shoulder and I have 5 in this shoulder. And it just took me 3 years to get my shit back together and get back into the gym and even thinking about training and let alone competing. I didn't even think I'd ever step on stage again. But I figured it out and I just thought, you know, I just want to do one more show. And, you know, now here we are. I've won 11 Masters Pro shows and going to Japan in six weeks to do the Masters Olympia. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's a good story. I wish I didn't have to live it.
So you tore both rotator cuffs?
Yes. Yeah.
And you had surgery, you had screws put in them?
Yep. I've got 14 throughout both my shoulders. Yep.
But they didn't do a shoulder replacement. It's just...
No, I didn't need a shoulder replacement. No. But I've had to, Larry, when I tell you I became a student of bodybuilding, because back before that, I didn't need to learn how to train, or everything came easy, really easy. And I didn't have to give it all that much effort. Now I've had to change everything. I mean, I hear so many guys that are our age talking about how they can't train anymore and they focus on it so much. And my first attempt was, okay, I'm going to stop focusing on what I can't do anymore and focus what I can do. And I just put that ball in motion, and I've just had a very positive mindset. I'm not going to tell you I haven't had bad days. You know, I'm not going to say that I don't think negative sometimes. I'm human, and I always have those days, and, you know, but I fight through it, and I manage to have days that I'm winning more than days that I'm losing. I've had to basically study the anatomy and go through every book you could think of about how to actually train the body. I'm not a book guy at all. If anybody who knows me, I have really bad dyslexia, and so for me to read, it takes me forever. And I'll admit it, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. So I've had to take extensive time out to, you know, a lot of the studying that I was doing was through, if you remember, Charles Pollock out of Canada, great trainer. I had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and we talked about a game plan. This was years ago. And he said to me, you need to get your strength back. So why don't you focus on 5 reps? Because every time I did a new weight, it felt like a Mack truck ran me over. Like I would do, literally, I'm not even joking right now, 5-pound dumbbell shoulder presses. And it was a struggle. I couldn't even, I had no ancillary muscle strength and nothing. I had no stability strength. So anytime I did anything, like that night, I'd be exhausted. So instead of focusing on trying to get like how we were used to 10, 12 reps, I was just focusing on 5. And once I mastered 5 reps, I went to 10 pounds, then 15 pounds, then 20 pounds. And I didn't even care about reps. I just focused on just doing great form with just a little heavier weight. And then the goals were, once I increased my strength by 20%, go back to a lighter weight and aim for 10 to 12 reps. And so I kept doing that. And the strength came back, the size came back. There's a lot of things I can't do anymore. But it is what it is. I don't focus on it.
I tore my right shoulder, I want to say about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And I trained on it for 2 years before I finally went into the surgery. And I had a hole in my rotator cuff the size of a silver dollar. And by the time I went into surgery, I couldn't hold a 5-pound dumbbell over my head because I just had no control over it.
Yep.
And then after the surgery, it took me a full year to rehab that thing.
Yeah.
It took a year. And now I'm dealing with my left shoulder. Something's torn in there. It gets better than worse. And yeah, it's something I've been dealing with this one for about 2 years now.
Yeah, just be careful. I mean, the way I work out, the way I train now is I back into my training, where mostly I'm starting with machines, and then I end up with either like dumbbells and barbells at the end of the workout once I'm fully warmed up. And you know, I try to tell so many people about warming up, and they will, everybody I talk to, I warm up. I'm great at warming up. I make sure I warm up. And when they work out with me, they have no fucking idea what just hit them, because my warm up is so extensive and so detailed that it hits them like literally like a Mack truck. So when I say warm up, I'm in the ballpark of doing 20 to 30 reps for a few sets to get a lot of blood and engorge it and get it just really lubricated and warm to where the point where now I can train. The thing is, with a lot of people our age, they bypass, they overstep lightweight to get to some weight that they want to do. Because you and I, you know, back in the day when we were kids, we could pick up a 50-pound dumbbell and curl it. Not a problem. That ain't happening today. You're going to tear something.
Yep.
But there's some good days when I can get to a 40-pound dumbbell. But those days take me, like those workouts are, I'm using a 10, a 15, a 20. I'm doing some reps, getting warm up. And then I start going into a little bit of heavier weight. And when I do those heavier weights, it's one set. That's it. Then I walk away. I wash my hands from it. I don't even look back. And I don't
Before I even step on the gym floor, I'm 30 minutes on the mat, laying there with a massage gun, stretching myself and digging on myself with a massage gun until I'm like completely loose.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean,
just doing stretching and digging with the massage gun, and then a bunch of calisthenics before I ever even touch. And I have training partners. They get mad because they're waiting on me because they're young guys. They want to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they warm up, like stretch for 3 minutes and they're ready to go. And I'm just like, I just lay there on the mat and I'll just keep going until I'm ready.
Yeah. That's why, like, when I train with anybody who's anywhere from 10 years down, younger than me, if we're meeting at 11 a.m., I'm getting there at 10:30 to 11. I'm warming up. Yeah. And I'll even pick an exercise and not even include it in my workout. So let's say if I'm doing, actually, like tomorrow, I'm doing legs. I might pick, an exercise and stay on it for 20 minutes where I'm just doing sets of 10. Just get a lot of blood in my knees, get it lubricated, get my quads a little bit warmed up, get blood in there. I think the biggest thing for us is our glutes. I know it sounds funny, but I know that a lot of times when I'm training, I could feel something about to rip in my glute. So if I'm not warmed up properly, I'm scared. Like we have a bone in our glute called ischial tuberosity. Mm-hmm. And I broke it early last year. I was so stupid. I fell off of the belt squat. I was an idiot. I wasn't even thinking. I was thinking. I thought, I don't want to take the women's belt off. I'll just slide into it, pull it up, and hook it onto the belt squat. I could fit into it. It's not a problem. But I stood on the belt on the base of the machine, and I fell over, and I broke the bone in my glute. It's called the ischial tuberosity. And it took, oh my God, it took like 8 months for that to heal. I couldn't sit anywhere. I couldn't go in a restaurant. I had to get to make sure I had to bring up like a big thick pad to sit on. And my training was sidelined from it a little bit. There was a lot of exercises I couldn't do. So I'm always like telling guys, dude, you got to warm your glutes up. You got to make sure your hamstrings are warmed up. You got to make sure your knees are warmed up. And a lot of people just don't get it until they train with me. And I get a lot of times people say your workouts look really, really easy until they actually work out with me. Because I'm not going more than 6 plates on a leg press, maybe 7. The things I'm doing with rest pause and drop sets and supersets, that's all coming after I'm fully warmed up. So a lot of people look at what I'm doing warming up thinking that's my training. And it's not my training at all. It's not even close.
I actually do something called glute bridges where you like sit in the sit-up position and I just raise my hips up and contract my glutes.
Yep.
I'll do that 20 times. And then I do marching where I alternate one leg and the other, where I basically pull one knee into my chest while I'm pushing up with the glute on the other side. And I switch back and forth 20 on each side just to pump blood and stretch that area out on the mat before I do anything.
You're on the right track. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, so, you understand it because you understand injuries and you've been doing it for 40 years. But guys who've been doing it for 4 years have no idea what I'm talking about. None. They have no idea. And when I train with a couple of young guys, sometimes they appreciate the intensity.
Do you use heat?
So I'll get on a bike for like 5 to 10 minutes.
No. I mean topical heat.
Sometimes I do. I have this a CBD heat cream out of England. I have it. I use that on my knees. I'll do that during the winter. Now when it's like we had a heat wave here in Jersey, I did not need to do any of that stuff. I felt amazing. Nothing hurt me. Went to the gym. I tore the gym up because I was so warm. I can't stand our winters here in Jersey. They suck. They're bitter. They're cold. I'm not a happy camper. I'm miserable when it's cold outside. I'm Italian. I need hot. I need heat.
Well, I learned this from Scott Mendelson. I trained with him for like 10 years. He's a world champion power lifter. And we used to put this tie liniment on, and it's just really hot. And we'd put tie liniment and then DMSO.
Oh, DMSO, yeah.
But
That's
now
cool.
I just use capsaicin cream that you can buy out of CVS. I put it on my lower back, my shoulders, my elbows, my bicep tendons, and my knees. And I put that on with this horse liniment before I start warming up. And by the time I'm in the gym lifting weights, there's steam coming off my shoulders. And this is when it's warm out. I do this. Okay. I'm like on fire, but I got used to it because when things are hot, they're pliable and you're less likely to tear things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good idea. Maybe I should start doing it. Now that we have this conversation, I'm going to do it because I don't want to have an injury.
It totally works because I'd rip my body apart if I didn't do that.
No, I hear you.
And when I squat, I know people are going to say this is cheating and whatever. I don't give a shit what they say. I have an old Franz squat suit, which is like not the squat suits like for competition, like that help you lift a lot of weight. It's just a really tight old thing. But I put that on and that puts pressure on my hips. And I've never had a hip problem because of that. And I know that is for sure what I'm able to squat still heavy weight without any hip. I've never had a hip issue.
That's cool.
And it doesn't really aid me in lifting more weight, but it's just that tightness keeps you, from moving out of place and stable in the lift.
It's like a tight t-shirt. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. More than a tight t-shirt, a little tighter than that.
I understand. I get the concept.
But yeah, you can buy even those, Inzer makes these, they're just singlets, but they're compression singlets. And so that gives you this little bit of tightness and it holds the heat in as well. So if you put that on, it just keeps everything nice and tight while you're training.
Cool. I got to look into that.
That'll probably help your glute issue a lot. Because I could definitely feel a difference if I don't have it on versus if I have it on.
All right. I'll look into it.
And again, I don't care what anybody says about if it's helping me lift, because I'm not trying to compete in the damn thing. I'm just trying to get through a workout without tearing something.
Oh, Larry, I couldn't give a shit what anybody thought about what I do before I get to an actual training session. I march at my own beat, and I couldn't care less. So I understand and appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Body Master shoulder press that I have that's like a rotating handle.
Mm-hmm. I know
overhead. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's a really hard to find machine, but it's the only machine that I can press overhead and I feel no pain in my shoulders.
Well, Body Masters were ahead of their time, man. It's if guys today haven't had the opportunity to train on Body Masters, they don't realize what they're missing.
But it has a rotating, like converging handle, so you're in a circular motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's you can adjust it just to where you want it, and then it has a foot position pedal that you can push the handles up to your starting position. And I can press on that machine with no pain in my shoulders, but that's the only overhead pressing I can do without having pain in my shoulders. But even on that thing, I'm wearing elbow sleeves and wrist wraps, and I filmed myself and posted it on Instagram. And somebody makes a comment, "Oh, you need all that to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I don't care what you think about it.
Yeah. It was just like you were saying earlier in the podcast, where when you were a kid, you traveled over an hour to go train. I'm actually doing that now. I try to find equipment like you're talking about, like Body Masters. I train at Diamond Gym in Maplewood, New Jersey. It's old school, somewhere right now. Old school gym with just great equipment. Everything's broken in, everything's smooth, but it's old. And, I appreciate the old equipment. I think I think you understand this. Like, it kind of fits like a glove because you're used to training in it and training on, TK Star, Body Masters, the first version or the first generation of Hammer Strength, where everything
Yep.
is like a heavy, like today's Hammer Strength is hollow.
Yeah, it's
The
not the
old,
same.
it's the old school stuff. I went and did chest today at Diamond, and just the handles alone, the arm was like 35 pounds or 45 pounds, not an empty piece of metal you're pushing. I think like, and also, I train with this guy, Pat. I drive down an hour and a half down South Jersey where, he has old school ideas that I've stopped. I've forgotten about, so I try to team up with people who know how to train or learned how to train from the 90s and 80s, because I know there's going to be grief on this one, but when I look around the gym, when I'm in my gym where I work, if I train there on a particular day, it's hard pressed to find anybody in my gym that knows how to give me a spot. And I'll give you an example. I said to this guy, this is like just last week, I said, I'm doing dumbbell presses, incline dumbbell presses. I can't go more than 60 pounds. So if you could just do me a favor, I'm going to pick the left side up, lock it out. The right side, I'm going to put my hand in the air. Can you just place the dumbbell in my hand? He's like,
Right.
yeah, I've done that before. So I got in position, put my hand out, and he goes and puts the dumbbell on the bench next to me. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, I thought you were waving me off. I'm like, I just said to you what I was doing. Put the dumbbell in my hand. And it threw me all off. I had like the worst set after that. I couldn't even do it. I just stopped training with that exercise because it just put me in like a bad mindset for a second. And I had to go do something else. Does that make sense to you?
So I got these things. They're like dumbbell holders that you put on a squat rack.
Yeah, I know what they are. I got them.
So you put them on the squat rack at the height you want, and you put the incline bench in there wherever, so it's positioned right. And you can literally just take the dumbbells and just go like this.
And the reason why I don't use them is because I got to pick the dumbbells up to put them in there. And
I do that I'll just put them in there because there's no way I'm kicking that thing up because I'll tear my shoulder out if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can press it, but I can't kick it up, and I don't trust anybody to hand it to me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. There's absolutely there's very rare I can find somebody who knows how to give me a spot, because today's all they do is just cheer each other on. They don't do anything.
So there's a flex leverage converging incline press. And I have the whole line of flex leverage, except I couldn't get that piece. And I've tried it at a few gyms around the country, and it's just unbelievable. It's like you're doing an incline dumbbell press, almost the same movement. But that flex leverage converging incline press, like, good luck trying to find one, because I looked for it for years. But there's a place called what is it? It's out of Texas. They built me one. Nice. They replicated it. I just blanked out on the name, but I'll think of it. But that thing works great. You can load it up with however much you can lift, and adjust it exactly to where you want it, and you don't have to pick up any dumbbells.
That's cool.
And the other thing I have the Body Masters incline converging press, like the shoulder press I told you, but this is the incline with the converging, and that thing works great too. It's almost like a dumbbell press.
Well, I'll have to fly out there and train at your gym.
I'm like, some people collect, cars and whatever. I collect equipment.
I love it. I get it.
I'm like an equipment junkie.
That's cool. Now, is your gym open to the public?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's 11,000 feet. And I just bought, my final piece was a Nebula leg press. I looked for one for 10 years. I finally got it.
Now, what do you do when you get like a young kid coming in there and all they do is sit on a bench and text? You tell them to get up?
Doesn't happen in my gym.
How do you get that to not happen?
It's just people know, because I set the pace in my gym. People see me training in there. People see the other hardcore guys training in there. No one does that shit in my gym. They do it at 24-hour fitness. They don't do that in my gym.
I'm jealous because
they just don't. If I saw somebody do that, I would literally walk up to them and say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, you can't. I mean, obviously, if no one's trying to use the machine or no one's there, and it's a slow time of day, but if it's busy, that shit's not going on, because my gym members will say something to them.
Good.
Yeah, I don't even have to say anything. My members will tell them, like, move your ass out of the way.
Nice. Love it. So you're in Ventura, California?
Yeah, Ventura. But I mean, people see me in the gym. You know, I re-rack my weights. I'm training right next to them, so I'm re-racking my weights. I'm putting my stuff back. We're lifting heavy. We're making noise. You know, but we keep it clean. We're not slamming weights on the floor.
Where is Ventura from Venice, California?
About an hour north of Venice, up the coast.
Oh, so what? Near more like Marina? I can't think of the name of the town.
Just before Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Okay.
So if you go north on PCH, about halfway between LA and Santa Barbara, we're at.
How long have you been there with that gym?
We opened in Ventura in 2014.
Okay. Nice.
So this is what, 11 years?
Sweet.
Yeah, this is my third location. I moved 3 times during that time to get a better location, and this is the best location I've had. Oh,
good for you. That's awesome.
And yeah, this one I went all out on it. We've got everything you can imagine. So, but I want to hear about like, so I know what, a lot of things have changed. I'm sure your training has evolved over the years. Obviously when I started, it was just like heavy lifting, free weight, squats, bench, deadlifts, and stuff like this. And then, as later in the years, I've had to gravitate more towards machines. I still do squats, but I do it in a Roger squat.
Yeah. So for me, ego got in the way probably a lot of my career. I'll completely honest about that, where I tried to lift heavier weights because I thought that's what a bodybuilder should do. And I always felt that when I lifted in the 12 to 15 rep range, even sometimes in a 20 rep range, I would grow. But I felt like I wasn't being a part of the cool kids, if you will, by trying to throw around heavy weight. And that's probably what caused me to have rotator cuff surgery after so many years. And I found that when I came back, I really thought about what works for Vinny Galanti. Forget everything else, forget everybody else, forget being cool, trying to pick up weights you can't do anymore. And I'm pretty close to the weights that I should have been doing when I was younger. I can incline barbell bench. It takes me a while to get to 185 pounds for 12 reps, but I could do it. It takes me about 30 minutes of warming up before I can get there. But I'm not trying to do 315 anymore for 4, where that didn't do anything for me in the first place. Over the course of time, because I'm now 58 years old, it's obvious I've lost mass because I'm older. But if you look at what I've done in the last 6 years as a Masters competitor, I've maintained my leg size, I've maintained my thickness in my back, and I put some good size on overall. And that's really what I wanted to accomplish. I knew that I just needed to keep the size I had, redistribute a few things, make it look better. My diet's been better. I work with Jason Hebert. He's out of Texas. He's doing my program now. And, I feel bad for the guy because I'm always complaining to him. You know how it is. He's younger too, so he doesn't get my mindset. When, like today, for instance, I was joking with him. I said, he's giving me a refeed meal tonight. I get to eat some sushi tonight. And I said, oh, well, Sunday's going to suck because I have family from Italy coming in and we're having a big barbecue on Sunday. And I'm going to see, everybody eat. And he's like, why is that bad? Why does it suck? I'm like, because my Italian family is going to be here and I can't eat anything. He's like, I don't understand. You're training for the Olympia. That's all that should be on your mind. And I'm like, yeah, but if you were Italian from Jersey, you'd understand being around everybody. And I'm just trying to make a joke. It's like, so he's, I guess, maybe too young to understand my mindset, as I'm just breaking balls right now. I'm just fooling around. But other than that, he's been a fantastic coach. And my nephew, who's in his 30s, said to me, hey, Uncle Vin, I'm really like that's kind of cool that you're open-minded to listening to somebody younger. And I always feel like I don't care how old somebody is. I just want to know if they're knowledgeable. And if they bring something to the table that makes sense to me, I'm going to go with it. So yeah, Jason is a really great coach. We've put together a program. On paper, a male should not eat a lot of carbohydrates when they're older. But for me, I'm eating more carbohydrates than I've ever eaten, and I'm getting in shape. We manipulate them, we rotate them. We have low days and high days. And then there's some days where they're really high. But the training is how we've been talking for the last, during this podcast here, we're, how I'm explaining how I approach my training. And I try to get to a weight that is heavy enough, but yet stimulating to work and train and get some growth out of the muscle. But I'm staying in like the 10 to 12 rep range. Sometimes I go to 20. And it's just basically like, if I did, give you an example, let's say chest. If I'm training on an incline barbell press, bench press, and I get 10 to 12 with 185, and you have those good days and you're like, oh, next week I want to do that again. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's like hitting a brick wall and you're like, I can't even bench press the bar right now. Like I can't put a quarter on each side and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel smooth. I can't even warm up with this. I rack it, take the weights off, I move on to the next exercise. I don't waste my time on focusing on anything I can't do. So if I had a great training session with an exercise one week, I know that it might not happen the next week. And the last thing I'm going to do is focus on it. And then I'll go over to a hammer and start using that, or just do something else. And
right,
I try to have a plan, but God laughs at you when you try to make a plan. So I just change it really quickly and I move on to something else. And like we was talking about the Rogers squat, I love that machine now because now I don't have to walk out, I don't have to do anything. I just get under, latch it off, squat, go up and down. And I get a lot of guys too who'll say, oh, but that's not real squatting. I'm like, there's weight on my shoulders and I'm going up and down. The only thing that's removed from the equation is the balancing act of taking it off the bar, and probably your erectors and your whole back. It's not getting the work you would get from having that bar on your back. But other than that, you're training your quads. And it's
honestly, it saves my lower back and my legs are fried.
Yeah.
I can use 14 plates on that machine for like 6 reps on my heaviest set.
7.
And I have no pain in my knees and no pain in my lower back at all. None.
Well, God bless you. I can't do that weight. That's a lot of weight.
My legs have always been strong, and I squatted. I because of my shoulder, I went from a regular barbell long time ago to first it was the what is it called, the Duffalo bar, the bench bar, because I didn't have to reach back as far, and then I went to the transformer bar. Yeah. And now I'm on the Rogers squat.
A lot of people say to me, why don't you use the Buffalo bar? I'm like, that would be a great idea if I could pick the damn thing up and put it on the squat rack. The thing is so heavy. It's like 80 pounds. I can't get the bar up, so I don't use it. I'm like, it's a waste of time. I'm like tired after I get the bar on the rack, and I'm going to tear something in my shoulder again. So I'm not doing it. So
Well, I used the transformer bar for a long time, which is a kabuki bar, which
Yep.
the handles are on front, and it's like a safety squat bar, but it's different. So with the weights, you can adjust the weight so it's on your hips. I
well,
used that thing for years.
I also love the belt squat. That's favorite
I
of
have
mine.
the winning belt squat, and I use that thing. It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. We're older. We got to train around a lot of shit that,
Yeah, but we're still in the gym making it work.
yep, making it work. And you got to make it work with your mindset too. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go into the gym thinking like, this is going to suck today. I am not going to have a good workout. I just know it. And then all of a sudden I have a great workout. And you have to just like persevere through the warm up. I think because if you are dictated by how you feel, you're going to not go to the gym. Because anybody who talks about like, oh, I can't do this, can't do that. If you can get through the warm up, you're going to have a good workout. Now I'm not talking about guys like you and I'm talking about just people you hear every day talking about, oh, when I was younger, I could do this, I could do that. And I'm sure you hear it too. You try to talk to people and all they want to do is tell you their problems about what they can't do anymore. And they don't actually listen, which really gets on my nerves. Like I'm trying to tell you what I've experienced and what I do to combat all of that. And you're not taking advantage of my knowledge and my experience. And then I get fed up. And most of the time, I will, if someone is asking me for advice and all they want to do is actually just talk about them, I've been known to just literally walk away. I have no patience for you. You're not listening to what I'm saying. You're wasting my time. I don't care what you have to say if you don't want to hear what I have to say into helping you overcome what you're trying to overcome. Does that make sense?
I'm at that point where I honestly, it's like either you get with the program or don't. Because I've torn my rotator cuff, my tricep tendon, both lats. My knees are like, God knows what holds them together because I've torn all my tendons in my knees and they still work somehow. Blew my L4, L5 disc twice. I've got some SI joint nerve compression thing going on. I don't even want to hear it. I go in there, I put my heat on, I warm up, and I get to it. And right now, I got a guy training for the USA, strong as a fucking house, thick as a brick, and 20 years younger than me. And I'm in there training with him. And of course, he's lifting more weight than me. I can't lift as much weight with him, but I hang in there through the workout. And I try to push him by going as hard as I can because I'm setting the pace.
Of course, yeah.
So maybe I'm not lifting as much weight as him, but I'm going to failure and I'm putting the intensity in because I know if I don't, he's not going to.
Yeah, I don't know if the guys today understand what intensity is like we do.
No.
Well,
they don't.
Now, I'm not talking about the guys on the Olympia stage that are young. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the everyday average guy in the gym who, has the backpack, the water cooler, the sneakers, all the latest clothing lines, and they're not anywhere near training like the way they look, like they walk into the gym with the hoodie on, and they're just completely bullshitting themselves. And I've said it to people in the gym. I'm like, you don't train hard. You don't even come close. And I get people who get aggravated with me, but I'm sure you grew up the way I grew up a little bit, where guys broke your balls to see you do better in the gym, right? Guys would rib you to see how hard you're going to train.
Well, as a teenager coming up, when I was like 16 years old, I got to train with Lee Haney and Rich Gasperi and these guys. And I knew if I slacked even a little bit, they weren't going to let me train with them.
Yeah. Well,
so not only I wasn't as big and strong as them, but I had to hang in there with the intensity.
Yeah.
And if anything, I was trying to like go harder than them just to be accepted, to be able to do it. I knew if I was pushed out, they were just going to be like no more.
Yep.
I'm training with you, kid.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it.
So if you don't mind, let me ask you. So your gears changed over the years. I know we had what we did back in the day, and to be honest with you, mine has not changed a whole lot, even though new products have come and gone. But I never went crazy on the dosages.
When I was, I hear all of these experts today, and they talk about what you can't do, what you can't mix together, and I'm going to say this right here. This is my first time ever saying anything about being on gear. When I won the USA, I did 10 weeks of testosterone, and then 10 weeks out from the USA, I did 300 milligrams I did 250 milligrams of Sustanon for 10 weeks. I split the dose in half Monday and Thursday. And then when I was 10 weeks out, I did 300 milligrams of Masteron, 100 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I won the USA. And I looked crazy. And because I looked crazy, it was because of the strict dieting that was overriding the gear. Like, gear was a third. It wasn't even talked about. It was training and nutrition and then a little bit of gear. And over the years, it's turned into a chemical warfare. Now, back in 96, I think I could say this. I don't think he'll get mad. I was training with Chris Cormier, and he said to me, you look like you're off. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do anything until I compete. He's like, no, Vin, you got to stay on all year to grow. I'm like, really? And I did. Fast forward to 1997, I do a photo shoot for John Perillo. And it turned out that I got in shape for the photo shoot, which was in June. I haven't been off now like a year and a half. And when I did the nationals last, let me go backwards. So John says to me, are you going to stay in town to do the junior nationals next week? I'm like, no, I'm going to do the nationals at the end in November. I go, I already won the USA. I said, I wouldn't go backwards going into the junior nationals. And he said, no, you're bigger. You're probably a light heavyweight now. I'm like, I don't know. So we get on the scale, and I was 1 pound heavier than a year and a half ago. I'm like, wait, I gained 1 pound being on all these fucking drugs. It did nothing for me. So I've learned super heavyweight and a lot of drugs don't work for me. And so I quickly stopped that. I ended up winning the junior nationals that year. I won the light heavyweight. And then I did the nationals for the first time as a light heavy, and I took fourth. And I cleaned myself out, and I went back to my old protocol of waiting until about 16 weeks before a contest. My doses have never been high. I'm 58 years old. Knock on wood. I have not had an issue with anything. I don't abuse anything. It's not a joke when I hear these kids talk about, taking so much gear, like taking tren, like it's like a rite of passage. And, one aspect of what we experienced was amazing, where we had the bodybuilding magazines and we had, big guys in the gym we learned from. And today it's amazing that you have social media. It's a different amazing.
Right.
But you have complete fucking morons who don't know what they're talking about, teaching people who don't know what they're talking about.
Oh God, don't even get me started. I heard one last night.
Yeah, we're not going to go down that path right now, but let's just say they're like when I talk to somebody, I'm like, you're on how much tren? Why are you even doing that? And they're like, you don't understand. Like, you're too old to understand. I'm like, you don't understand. So, we're living in a different time. It's just, we're living in a time where steroids are the main topic. diet and nutrition are way last. Training is, you got to go balls out fucking heavy, and the physiques just look completely different. It's not the sport that I got into, and I probably wouldn't even be attracted to being in the sport today if I was up and coming now. Maybe I would, because it's classic today, and I would gravitate towards those guys. But, I won the Jersey back in '92, drug free. I didn't take anything, and people say it can't be done. So it so can be done. I mean, we're a little off kilter here. It's a little too much today. I'm not going to go any further.
I'll just say I have personally experimented over the years with all different everything. I've tried every single compound, low doses, high doses, different medium doses, being off, being on, different things. And I've just come to the conclusion that more is not better.
Yep.
And it can mess things up, and you're not going to get better results. No. And I always go back to training and diet is number one and number two.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
And the drugs, like back in the day, we looked at it as like supplements. It wasn't the be all end all.
No. I also think that, and now being able to acquire, like nandrolone and testosterone and Anavar from a TRT company, you're getting it's prescription. It's giving me a look like I used to have when I was younger, because I think prescription way better than underground stuff. And I think there's an oily look to a lot of the guys. Like there's a look that's I don't know if it's because they don't suffer dieting or if they're taking stuff that's I don't know what it is. It's just a different look today.
It's not any of the steroids.
It's what?
It's not. It has nothing to do with the steroids.
What do you think it's from?
I know what it's from. It's from growth hormone and insulin.
See, I've never done insulin.
Yeah, it's growth hormone and insulin. It's they have a lot of sarcoplasm, which is just blood volume. So imagine like you pump your legs up and they're super pumped, and then you don't have any separation because there's just so much blood in there. So when you take a ton of insulin and growth hormone with a shit ton of food and calories and carbs, you have more blood volume just in your body. So you have the roundness, but there's no separation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess. Didn't guys didn't Dorian take insulin? Yeah, separation.
Yeah, but not like to the extent now. It's different.
Overboard.
It's just a lot of blood volume. So it's blow up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a lot of blow up. Then I don't think it's the steroids, because the steroids honestly haven't changed. The same steroids that we used back in the day, they're the same ones that work today. There's some new stuff, but it's not bitter or different at all.
You think there's no difference from underground lab to pharmacy?
It depends. I mean, I know some people that make real legitimate UG stuff that's clean and sterile, and it's exactly what it is. But I would say that probably 90% of the shit out there is fake, underdosed, or it says on the label is not what's in the bottle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there is a difference there, because they think they're taking, Primobolan, but they're taking, testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
So that is for sure a difference.
Right.
But there are some legitimate labs that make real stuff. But I know there's a lot of fake stuff out there because the real stuff's hard to get.
Right.
So you're 100% right. If you can go with a TRT clinic and just get your test, DECA, and Anavar, that's all you need. Those three things will get you everywhere you need to go.
I know, and it's funny how guys talk about, it's for Anavar's for a bikini competitor. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's an anabolic. It's a strong anabolic. It doesn't hold water. It works great.
Yeah.
It's not as liver toxic as other things. It's one of the best compounds you could use.
Yes. And talking about, I got to eat my next meal soon.
Yeah, we've been at it for a little over an hour now.
Yeah.
But we've covered a lot of stuff, and I'm sure I could talk to you all day, because we go way back.
Yeah. I want to talk to you for a minute when we get offline.
All right. So we'll wrap this up. Oh, by the way, that company was Megamass that makes that incline. It's Megamass, and they custom make that conversion incline press. It cost me $5,000 for that machine, but it's worth it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's awesome. Seriously, I got to get out there one day. I got to fly out there and train there.
Yeah, I would love to train with you because I'm sure I'd learn a lot.
I got to send you a picture for your wall.
No, definitely send me one, and I will blow it up into a poster, and I will hang it on the wall.
I have a poster. I'll send you the poster.
Oh, great! Autograph it. I'll frame it and I'll hang it on the wall.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right.
Awesome.
Listen, I appreciate you having me on and giving me this time here. Thank you so much.
Is there anything you want to promote? People to get a hold of you?
You can reach me at Vinny Galanti _fitness. Wait, I just changed it. What is my? No, it's actually. Give me a second. It's Galanti _fitness. I just changed it. Yeah, I'm 6 weeks out from the Masters Olympia. I'm not delusional about, where I stand and the whole mix. I'm training as if I'm going to win it, and I'm realistic about who I'm going up against, and hopefully I get into the first call out and I'm in the mix. That would be a dream come true. And watch my journey over the next 6 weeks.
I'm going to be following you, and I'm going to be excited. And maybe before the show or after the show, we can do a quick podcast and talk about where you're at or how you did and what you think.
I would love that.
That would be awesome.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to end this, and then we'll talk right afterwards.
I believe that the fires we're cast upon are the flames we shall become. I believe in a common cause.